Good morning, grade 8s. Nearly time to go back to school. I'm actually very excited about it. But in the meantime, let's keep going on methods of contraception. Right, so go. The next type of method that we're going to discuss is something called intrauterine device. An intrauterine device. Now just be very careful. This word is intra, not inter. So intra means within something. So an example would be, if you are playing hockey within the yellow house, for example. So the students of the yellow house are playing against the students of the yellow house, whatever the yellow house's name is. That would be intra-house hockey. If, however, a match was being played between the students in the yellow house and the students in the red house, that would be inter-house hockey. So inter means between different organisms, and intra means within something. So an intrauterine device means a piece of equipment or a device that is placed within the uterus. So there are many different shapes and sizes of IUDs, and here are some IUDs here, many different ones. You can see all the different ones here. And an IUD, or an intrauterine device, and remember the rule that applies to abbreviations, that if something has an accepted scientific abbreviation, as this does, and you know that because I've included it here, then it means that if you write about it in a test or exam, the first time you write it, you write the entire word out, term out. In brackets, you can write the abbreviation, and after that, in that assessment, you can use the abbreviation. So an IUD is a small, mostly T-shaped, although not all of them are T-shaped. So a T-shaped device made of material, and this material can either contain progesterone, or the false progesterone, progestin, or progestogen, which are the synthetically made ones, or it is made of plastic with a little bit of copper, and I'll describe that for you now. Okay, so it is always fitted inside the uterus, a woman's uterus, hence intrauterine, by a trained healthcare provider. So a person can't go and put one of these in the uterus themselves. So if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, you can see that here is an intrauterine device. This is one of the common T-shaped ones, and it is placed like that within the uterus. I'm going to talk just now about these little strings here. Okay, so you might as well look at the little strings while the going's good. Anyway, it's a long-acting but reversible method of contraception. So in other words, it's very easy if a female decides she wants to have a baby, for it to be removed, also again by a healthcare provider. It's not something that somebody can take out of on their own. It can actually stay in place and function for between 3 and 10 years, depending on the type of IUD. Right, so here's one here. It's placed in the uterus. It can't be felt during sexual intercourse, and in fact, it can't be felt by the woman who has one in the uterus. Apparently, it's a little bit of discomfort initially when one is inserted, and after that, it's just as if nothing is there. Okay. I'm looking at the writing that isn't bold first, so that I can talk about the structure first. I see a spelling error here. Ah, so frustrating. Sorry, guys. I try so hard to make these things perfect, and it frustrates me when I haven't got it right. Anyway, so there's the IUD in position in the uterus. Remember I said to you that there are 2 nylon threads, okay, and they always lie through the cervix into the very, very top of the vagina. And the purpose of these threads is so that the wearer can check every now and again that the IUD is still actually in position. Very occasionally an IUD will fall out of its own accord. And you can imagine that's quite frustrating for the person who thinks that they've protected against pregnancy and then discovers that in fact their IUD fell out by mistake and, oh, sorry, now we've got a child. Maybe 2 or 3. So these little threads can be felt, and if they're used to check that the IUD is still in position. So there are 3 different ways. This is the bold writing. 3 different ways in which an IUD is thought to work. So some of them, depends on the type, prevent sperm from reaching or fertilizing an egg cell. Now remember that the egg cell is fertilized in this first little part of the fallopian tube. And therefore, if the sperm can't get past the IUD for whatever reason, and scientists are still quite uncertain as to how this whole thing works. I'll talk about the history of them just now. I remember, and if I've got time. So therefore, the sperm can't reach the egg cell in the fallopian tube. Remember that the egg cell does move down the fallopian tube, but it is deteriorating as it is moving. So that if it encounters a sperm down here, the egg cell is normally past the state of being able to be fertilized and to develop into an embryo. Secondly, it thins the endometrium, preventing implantation. And you know that every month the endometrium gets thicker in order for implantation to occur. So if the endometrium is thin, no implantation can occur. And then it thickens the cervical mucus. This should be cervical. So frustrated. To prevent sperm from entering the uterus and therefore prevent the sperm from reaching an egg cell. Okay, so the sperm can't get past the thick mucus in the cervical region. And it's a really, really effective method of contraception. Now, I know that when I was younger, very young, I think I was at university, I think one of our lecturers told us this, how somebody discovered how to use, the development of the actual use of an IUD. And this is a really strange story. And I'm not sure if it's true. So it all goes back to people who used to use camels as a means of transport. And you know that in the Middle East, people move long distances across deserts with camels that are busy transporting heavy loads from one place to another. And if the female camels got pregnant, they were not able to carry as heavy a load as they were able to if they weren't pregnant. And suddenly at some stage, somebody discovered that if they inserted a little stone in the uterus of the female camel, she never fell pregnant. Now, what they were thinking, I don't know. Why would you do that? But anyway, apparently that is a story. A little stone in the uterus has exactly the same effect. So they say, I'm not guaranteeing it. Please don't go on a $1 million quiz show and give this as the gospel truth answer for how an IUD was discovered. Okay. So some IUDs contain hormones, and these are generally speaking, the more modern ones that were developed in the last 10 or so years, maybe a little bit longer. And these hormones are gradually released, and they prevent pregnancy by artificially changing hormone levels in the body, as does the pill. Okay. And The IUD can also be used as an effective emergency contraception if fitted by a healthcare professional within 5 days of having unprotected sexual intercourse. Okay, right. So an example of a hormonal IUD is a Mirena, and this is a small plastic device, T-shaped, that slowly releases progesterone into the uterus, and that works as I've described it. Okay. So IUDs negatively affect the way that sperm move and survive in the uterus and prevent the sperm from reaching and fertilizing the ovum or egg cell. They can also change the endometrium and make it thinner and stop an embryo implanting. And the hormonal IUD can make the mucus, the opening of the uterus, in other words, cervix, thicker, stopping sperm from passing through. It is also thought to affect ovulation by changing hormonal levels. It negatively affects the hormone that causes an ovum to be released every month. And progesterone or progestogen actually does do that. Okay. So what are the advantages of an IUD versus the other methods of contraception? So obviously there's, unlike say a condom, a male condom, there's no interruption of foreplay, so it doesn't negatively affect the mood to use this contraceptive method. There's no trying to remember to take a pill daily, and it can be effective for up to 10 years before needing replacement. So in other words, it's not something one has to think about every day or every month or every 3 months or whatever. So that's a bonus. Some of the disadvantages, there are some menstrual disturbances with irregular bleeding and spotting. And then there's no protection against sexually transmitted infections, okay, as there is with a male or female condom. Okay, so that then is the end of contraceptives. So remember, you have to be ready by 10 o'clock on Friday morning for your little assessment on Friday. It's not a test, but it will be marked and it will count for your term marks. Be ready at 10 o'clock, have your normal stationery, have your textbook, have your brain, have a little bit of knowledge about all the stuff that we've done so far, or preferably a lot of knowledge about all the stuff that we've done so far. And then remember, you'll be having a test as soon as we get back to school, maybe before.